Hi, and welcome to the Muddy Path. Today I'm going to be talking about the early red flags for autism, so stay tuned for that. All right, so early red flags, and when I'm talking today, I'm talking mostly about toddlers because that's usually when most parents are starting to consider that there might be an issue. So number one would be answering to their name. So if your child's already, 1 or 2, and it seems like you have to say their name multiple times before they respond, it could be an issue. If they sort of seem like they may have a hearing issue, but then on the other hand, are really sensitive to sound. So Ted was a perfect example of that, where at one point there could be a lot of noise and chaos in the room, and at times it wouldn't seem to bother him. And so I thought he may have had a hearing issue, and yet if I clicked the dishwasher door, because he used to like to play with pulling the drawers in and out, he could hear that little click under everything else. So when you have those kind of things that don't quite make sense, like he seems to have an issue with this, but then on the other hand, he's extremely sensitive to sound. Or even could be with light, like they want really intense light, or they're always sort of covering their eyes. That might be something. 2 would be repetitive behavior. So if you see that they're, and this is one we always hear about, they're hand flapping or they're jumping or they're spinning, that could be an issue. But they could also have sort of repetitive things that they like to do, which would be maybe lining up toys, or again, like when Ted was little, he liked to open and close this one bookcase door that we had because it always made a certain noise every time it closed, and he could do that for half an hour if I let him. Number 3 would be uncontrollable screaming, unexplained screaming. Both of my boys did this. As infants, they were really hard to get to fall asleep. They were hard to stay happy and content throughout the day. Ted, again, there would be times where he would be laughing and giggling and then suddenly screaming, and nothing really had changed in the environment. That might be a flag. Number 4 is, for me, always the pointing. So if a young toddler isn't pointing to something that they want, or indicating, this is all like pre-verbal. So if they're not pointing for you that they want something or indicating that I want this, if you're pointing and like, hey, look at that over there, and they're not like turning to look, would be a bit of a flag. Those are sort of things that are what they call joint attention. So even too, if they're not bringing something to you for a pleasure, like, hey, look at my stuffed animal, or look at this book that I like, or even bringing something to you to help, like this is stuck and I need help. That if those things aren't sort of going on, that could be a flag as well. And number 5 for me is the mimicking. So even when we were in the documentary, I was always trying to do things like make faces or stick my tongue out and see if I could get Oscar to respond, because those are like a smile to a small infant. They often will smile right back at you. So if you're not sort of seeing those things, those could be red flags. But I want to make a point here that doesn't say your child has autism. These are just things that might sort of get you saying, maybe I should look into this, because there's so many other things that can, in addition to those, like, if they're not making sounds, they're not, there are motor planning challenges, balance issues, things like that, flying through milestones, like not really crawling properly and just going on to like walking. all of those things together and in any combination of them can get you a diagnosis of autism, but they also can mean things that your child maybe just has a developmental delay. And in the case of our 3 girls, all 3 of them were delayed in their speech. So, but they're not autistic. So there were a few of those things, but not enough of those things to say that they had autism, but they were just had a few delays. And eventually they caught up, and in case of talking, I can't get them to stop talking now. Sensory processing issues is a huge, huge thing. So some of the things that I was saying about light and sound might not be autism, but it might just be that your child has sensory processing issues. So maybe look into those or find a professional that's really good at assessing those. And the last thing even that it could be a red flag for and not autism is just health issues or gut issues. They usually kind of go hand in hand, but they can also be standalone. Like some children that have like what I had, ulcerative colitis, like that's intense, sharp pains and painful gut issues that just come on in waves. And so you can be feeling great and then feeling really poorly. So again, I think it's almost early red flags for something that's going on, whether it's autism or not. That's why you need to seek additional help. So hopefully those can clarify some things for you. And just again, if you want to know a little bit more, you can even look at our documentary called Beyond the Spectrum and maybe get a bigger insight of how our twins, Oscar and Izzy, compared over the months. So thanks for watching, and if you have any other comments, please leave them below. And if you like the video, remember to subscribe, like, and ring the notification bell. Thanks for watching.